Hi everyone, my name is Ayana and this is my capstone proposal. My topic is Japanese culture influences in Western media. So a little about me. This is my fourth year here at West Oahu. I graduated from Campbell back in 2021. My major is in creative media with a concentration in communications and new media technologies, and I'm also going for my Asian certificate here at West. My summary includes my thesis statement, which is on my next slide, my senior capstone project, which I want to be a five-part series, my objectives, which is mainly me talking about why I think Japan's culture in the West should be talked about, and then my significance for my project. So my thesis statement is the global reach of Japanese culture, specifically anime and J-pop, has heavily influenced Western media, such as their movies, music, and cartoons, through their complex stories, character usage, and style, where a fusion of these two cultures cannot coexist. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that there is so much Japanese pop culture added into the West that no one really bats an eye anymore. This change wasn't something that happened overnight, but something that was influenced through a generation. This has made Japan extremely digestible for Western audiences by showing a side of their culture that is now seen as fun, cute, and cool. My rationale for this project. So, why did I choose this? Well, during my time here at West Oahu, I've studied in Asian history and media literacy. I found that using my topic of Japanese culture and Western media, I was able to showcase what I spent my life in college researching and studying for, and also it combined my love for film and my newfound appreciation for Japan. I could share this information with others about this exchange between Japan and the West. My real objective for this topic was that I want to show the popularity Japan here has in the West and to bring awareness to this cultural shift. I know living here in Hawaii, we see so much of Japanese culture that we're almost desensitized to it. I found that when I was with family in California, they seemed so surprised by this boost in anime and J culture that they'd never really heard of it before 2020. So this is why I want people to be more aware of the type of content that they're watching, listening to, and to learn something about a culture besides their own. The West has never been one to just show one culture, but they have a good way of making it their own. Oh, sorry. My process for this research was pretty much set in stone. So I wanted to create something that helped me to understand another culture, because that's what I've been studying here at West. But also, it's a culture that I got super used to. I go to Tokai every once in a while to help out there, and I meet a lot of Japanese and Korean students. One of my friends is a graduate of Tokai, and I found that I just wanted to learn about her culture so much more. So the research gave me an opportunity to use information that my professors at school had given me and to apply it into real life situations. Of course, though, I had to do heavy research, so that way it just didn't come off as pop culture nonsense. Personally, I really love this topic, which is why I was so excited to work on it. So then, what is my senior capstone plan? Great question. I really wanted to create a project about each point of my paper. So I wanted to do a five-part video series, practically releasing a video about once a month on YouTube about each of the topics I talked about in my paper, like history between Japan and the West in the early 60s, and moving up from there. I have Japanese and anime Western cartoons that I want to dive into, but I also have points on Western music artists and the introduction of Japanese culture in films. Of course, though, I can't do this alone, so I want to interview my history professors, um, my professor who's in Asian studies here at West Oahu, a professor from Manoa to talk about the musical influences between the West and Japan, and another history professor from West Oahu to talk about the significance Japan has in Western films. I also want to incorporate people who have studied in the Asian certificate or took film classes to talk about these portions of my video because I think it's important not to just show the academic side, but the actual influences that this has on people and in their daily lives. I want my video series to be able to connect not just people from Hawaii, but others who are very interested in Japanese culture and want to see more of it. So this is my five-part series breakdown. I mentioned how I want to talk about the history of Japan and the West. To me, this is important for the introduction of my series since it's a lot of background information. This is also where I need to interview my history professor to talk about this relationship between the two cultures. And then, like my research paper, I want to hit on each topic that I mentioned, which is music, movies, and cartoons and anime. My second one with music will cover Gen Z consumption through online tools in relation to musical artists and which parts of Japan that they use. My third will talk about Western films and Japan, like Godzilla being transformed from a Japanese audience to a Western one. And then my fourth will talk about anime, manga, and Western cartoons. For this part, I want to film at KawaiiCon, which is why it's one of my last pieces that I'm working on. I'm also hoping to interview anime voice actors and people at the con with their permission. Since that is hopeful speaking, I do have a backup plan if that doesn't happen, which is just to talk to people who create content in the anime world. The main point of this video here is just to show the relationship between anime and the West. Then my last series that will conclude and tie everything together is basically thoughts and feelings and the prospects for the future. I really want my series to feel connected but not forceful, so this reaches more than just people of Hawaii. Moving on to the significance of my project. So the main reason I'm doing this is to increase awareness of cultures. I think that there's a lot of cultural blending and even cultural erasure that seems to be happening in the West that really needs to be talked about. Being a Mexican American myself, I like to see other cultures in the media besides the ones that I seen when I was a kid. I've only ever seen Hispanics taking the lead after Ugly Betty. So seeing this new trend rise from the age of the internet with India and Bollywood from the age with Dave Patel, he was raised in the UK with India dysphoria. I think this is something that directly relates to here in Hawaii. Dysphoria happens a lot with friends, and it's this sense of losing your cultural connection. Then there was Afrobeats, a genre of music, finally being added to award shows in 2023. These kinds of things are new, and yet Gen Z especially seems to be so normalized by these diverse cultures because of the internet and social media. I think it's important now than ever to start looking at this new age of consumption. And I'm hoping that in the future, instead of this normalization of things into erasure, there'll be a way to showcase appreciation and respect to cultures. Japan just happens to be the huge stepping stone of cultural diversity that we've been seeing. Which brings me to this all-time high of Asian consumption in the West. During the lockdown of COVID-19, there was a huge increase in want of need of K-pop, K-dramas, anime, manga, and Douyin, which is a Chinese makeup trend. I mean, 40 years ago, any mentions of Korea, China, and Japan in positive lights were scarce. We had World War II and then the Korean War, so it was hard to bring up these cultures without the weight that comes with them. I'm lucky that growing up, this wasn't the case anymore. I mean, people did still bully me and others who were participating in this content, but after being at home for so long, it was something that they started to embrace. They were making Asia cool online, which was very refreshing. So then there was this increase between people in Asia that can only be described as kizuna, which in Japanese means the bonds that tie people together. For the future, it affects the way people buy and promote products and even affects the way people interact online. So there are now gacha machines in the malls and manga being sold at Target and Walmart. I think in the future, this type of content will be seen regularly in stores. This also can be reflected in my data collection. So this is the anime market of today. As of 2024 so far, there have been $32.30 billion invested into anime alone. It's projected but that by the time of 2029, there will be almost $49.9 billion towards that anime market. Manga sales also reflect something similar. So this is only the market sales for one manga of Attack on Titan, and its reach when the anime was premiering on television and streaming services. At the height of the show, they sold over 50 million physical copies. Then there are these Japanese films that were the highest grossing films as of February 2024. The lowest making $9.63 million in the West, and the highest making $85.75 million. The point of this data is just to show you that there is a market for Japanese content in the West and how much of it is being poured into it. Japanese gaming, of course, is still a huge part of the West, like Nintendo. However, there have been shifts of anime becoming this main form of consumption, and there's also been a rise of Japanese city pop as of 2020. So then, who's my audience? Well, my audience is those who are interested in Japan. I want to target Gen Z and millennials who grew up with anime and J-pop in their childhoods. We're all adults now, and these changes in our lives felt so natural that I don't think most of them even realize how new this is for so many others. I can't forget those who are interested in Western culture as well. People say Hawaii is a melting pot of cultures, and I feel like the West has become this whole new platform for that. Even Japan has seen this increase of Westerners moving there or visiting more. Social media has made it easy to become informed and learn about new cultures, so it comes as no surprise to see anime references on TV or have your favorite artists talk about Japanese culture. So then what does that mean to you? Well, Japanese culture is so ingrained in Hawaii. As I mentioned before, we have so many Japanese tourists, Japanese themed shops, and Japanese people who live here. Anyone who's lived in Hawaii has been to Don Quixote, which is a Japanese store from Tokyo. There's such a huge blend of cultures that I myself have participated in without realizing is an East Asian practice. Like taking off your shoes before entering a house or eating bentos, which I found out at 15 was just called lunch. It's so normal here, which is good, but I think that stops a lot of people from Hawaii from relating to the rest of the continent. We're so lucky to be culturally diverse, but I think that this comes as a huge culture shock when we leave. This is why I think it'll help people here in Hawaii see Japanese culture in a new light from the one that they're seeing all the time. So this is my preparation process. I mentioned how I want to have a video about once a month, but the reality is I want to have my series finished at the end of the semester. So I don't intend to publish them just yet, but I do want to have each video done by the time that I'm moving on to the next one. So that way I'm not like overboarding myself with too much and I won't get it done. So I need to do a lot in my pre-production, which includes storyboarding, screenwriting, making sure I have interviews locked down, um, and making questions for the specific video that I'm going to be working on. And then the production stage, which is where I will be doing the bulk of my filming and interviewing or generating B-roll. This is also where I want to be filming at events like KawaiiCon, which is on March 14th to the 16th. And then that brings me to post-production. This will be my final edits, my final retakes, just everything before I turn it in and post it onto my YouTube channel. So what am I planning to turn in? Well, I personally love documentaries, but I hate how stiff some of them can feel. I think in order to have a good documentary, you have to be interested in the one that you're clicking on. So yeah, I want to change it from the way I was doing content. So on my YouTube channel, I have an avatar who makes commentary videos about films, which is fun, but it's not very educational, which is why I want to combine both of these ideas of a documentary and my YouTube channel. For example, though, I love the way Sophia Nygaard, a YouTuber, makes her content. Saf, that she goes by online, makes your content feel like you're learning something because you want to. She's able to blend in comedy while informing those of new trends, culture exchanges, and she also brings experts in the field to teach not just her, but her audience of what's going on. This particular video that I'm showing here is when she did a deep dive into the Japanese fashion subculture of Lolita. She brought in Rinrin, who is a model and content creator for Lolita fashion, and she even throws herself into the mix by trying to do goth Lolita herself. Saf has this participatory documentary style that I tend to like and something that I want to replicate. So yeah, there's a fair amount of history that she goes into as well, where she doesn't overload her audience with information. So with all of that said, thank you so much for listening and any questions.